Okay, we are live, and I'm waiting for Amber for 1 second. As I wait for Amber to come on, this is Jasmine Sandler, and welcome to Warrior Women in Business podcast episode number 70. And we're going to talk about the importance of number 70 today. But anyway, so welcome to those of you that have been fans and audiences and attendees of the Warrior Women in Business podcast and events. Welcome back. I hope you loved our last guest. I did, the CIO of Hypatia Capital Group, and it was a deep dive into how we can actually invest into 100 female public companies, female-led rather, public companies, and further, really how we can think about investing. It's really important as business owners that we're not just going for the races in terms of making money and managing our staff, but we need to take care of ourselves. And it was really about how do we define our salaries, how do we invest, how do we look at investments, and the Hypatia ETF makes it really simple. So if you missed episode 69, I definitely encourage you to take a listen into that to help you grow financially. But I'm really so excited about today's guest. I think Amber and I have been chatting on LinkedIn. I don't even know how long, Amber. We've been going back and forth. But I love what she does. For those of you that know me, I've been a hockey player my whole life, and I've always supported women in sports. And I'm always finding really unique, interesting, strong women that are doing things to break through barriers in male-dominated industries. And today we're going to be talking about a very male-dominated industry, NASCAR and car racing. And Amber can educate me much more on that because I'm definitely a newbie to learn about that world, although I've attended 2 NASCARs, believe it or not, and they were really cool. Yep. Warrior Women in Business, for those of you that don't know much about the podcast or the organization, I'd like to give you a little bit about what we do. Warrior Women in Business is a very, very mission-driven organization that is here to support the economic growth of female entrepreneurs and women in entertainment and the arts. And we do that by bringing together female leaders across industry through our podcast and very special entertaining and educational events that we do across the country. Warrior Women in Business started as a little podcast as I'm a keynote speaker for women in business, and it's grown into, I think, a movement. And I love getting interviewed on other women's podcasts just as much as I love interviewing powerful women and female leaders. And Warrior Women in Business, there's lots of ways to get involved at warriorwomenbusiness.com. It is a subset of my executive branding agency, JS Media, where we help primarily female leaders get on stage and get paid what they're worth. So that being said, I want to jump right into our guest today and just give a little bit of background about Amber. So Amber Balcaen, I'm saying that correctly, right? She is a NASCAR race car driver, which to me is like so cool. And as I'm sure it is for anyone. And I'm sure it wasn't easy to get there. And I'm sure it wasn't easy to sustain your position, no pun intended. And I'm sure it's not easy to balance, because she's not just a race car driver, even though that in itself is crazy, but she's also an entrepreneur. She's also a speaker. She's also from Canada, which I love. And so she's doing so much, and it's not easy to juggle these things and maintain a brand and be a role model for others. So I want to, first of all, thank you for taking the time out of your super busy schedule to be on the podcast. That's number one. So just a little bit about Amber. She's a professional race car driver, entrepreneur, and motivational speaker who made history as the first Canadian female to win a NASCAR-sanctioned race in the United States. Raised in Winnipeg, and people know that I know a lot about Winnipeg, Amber turned her dream into reality through relentless determination, which is what it takes, grit and resilience. And we talk about resilience, just so you know, Amber, a lot. Talk about that a lot. Securing millions in sponsorship funding and building a successful career in one of the most male-dominated sports in the world, which it is. And it also has such a cool history. So I think we're going to get into that today, like a little bit about that. So again, I wanted to thank you for being on. I know that you're a busy lady. So the first thing I wanted to ask about is, it's something that needs to be like, the fact that you are in a male-dominated sport, right? The fact that you are unique in that. I feel that a lot of the women that I interview on the podcast, like I've interviewed army generals, like the most amazing people. They're constantly, I feel like there's this common thread where they're this singular kind of shining light in their industry as a female. And the more I personally come across that, I think, well, this kind of needs to change, right? So I'm wondering, of course, we want to know about your background, how you got into the sport, and how you sustained your position in the sport, and how you think that you are paving the way for other women.
Yeah, well, I think the beautiful thing about motorsports lately is that we see way more females in the sport now more than ever. When I grew up racing, I was usually the only girl about amongst all men, and now you're seeing several women in the field, and that
Right.
just goes to show that we're moving in the right direction.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So can you talk a little bit about why you chose the industry and some of the hurdles and successes you come across?
Yes. So I'm a third generation race car driver. My mom and dad met at the racetrack. I've been going to the track since I've been in my mom's belly, and it's all I've known for my whole life. And my love for the sport just grew and grew and grew. At when I was a little kid, my dad was like, I don't want you to race. You don't need to race. It's so much time, money, commitment, everything. And I didn't care. I just wanted to race more than anything. And so after years of begging him, my mom was like, she's not going to stop. You have to let her. So he said, okay, but she has to pay for everything herself. She has to work on the go-kart. So at 10
Sure.
years old, I was raising my own sponsorship and working on my go-karts. And that
Sure.
has stayed true through my entire career. I've raised over $5 million in sponsorship on my own. So I've definitely accumulated a lot of business skills along the way, which I'm very grateful for. At the beginning, it made it a lot more difficult, but now being older, I realized how beneficial that was for me to learn those skills and create those relationships. And it's helped me in so many other areas of life that, yeah, is very difficult. It made my journey a lot harder. I'm in a sport that it is full of very wealthy people, and
Of course. Yeah.
the people I race against, their families are able to write $1 million checks for them to race, where in my circumstance, I have to raise that money, which is very difficult. So,
Mhm.
a lot of learning, a lot of rejection, a lot of failures along the way. Being a Canadian as well, trying to break into an American sport, being a female in a male-dominated sport, I just had every single obstacle stacked against me. But I knew that racing was exactly what I wanted to do, so I went for it anyway.
Yeah, I like this. I love, not like, but I love the singular focus. And I do think that you can, you know, trial by fire, as they say, helps you in the long term. And I think, that helps all entrepreneurs to not think short-term game. So I love that you talked about that. Can you share a little bit about what it's like day to day for you? Because you're kind of in three, I think, three buckets that, in the race car driving, also entrepreneur and speaker. So what is it? How do you balance that? What does that look like?
I think I'm constantly learning balance. I don't think I'll ever have it completely figured out because every
Mhm.
day, every week looks different. I mean, last week I was acting in a TV show. This week I'm now in Canada taking calls, and I was racing on Friday. I have a speaking engagement in a few weeks. So I'm kind of all over the place. It's just trying to manage my time as best as I can. I'm a big believer in journals. So
Ah,
use that
journals.
day
Yeah,
to day,
okay.
but I also try to work out every single day, doing
Yes.
everything I can for racing to be the best race car driver. I can be the best businesswoman. I can be the best speaker, the best friend and family member. There's just a lot of aspects to juggle, but I love it. I love keeping busy and I love being creative. So I feel fulfilled right now, which is what life's all about.
And are there any specific things like tips that you would have for female entrepreneurs in terms of keeping their energy going?
Ooh,
Because,
and going.
yeah.
That's a good question. I think clarity is key. If you have a clear path and clear actionable steps on how to get there, that really
Mm,
helps keep the energy flowing and keep the momentum going. I think it's really easy to get kind of stuck or overwhelmed when you don't have a clear path ahead of you. So whatever you need to do, whether it's journaling or pulling out a whiteboard and, jotting down notes and figuring out where you need to put your time and energy and, even money. I think that's a key point is clarity and then just working from there.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. So you have the journal, and I have a document every day. So I have plans, and then every day I have a daily, and I think
Mhm. Yes.
that is the only way, because similar to
Yeah.
you, I don't race cars. I wish I did, but I do all the things. And I think I love that you said clarity, because you can get overwhelmed and forget where you're going, so to speak, right? And
Exactly. I kind of
like, I
look
mean,
at things at a sorry.
no,
I
go
kind
ahead.
of look at things at a macro level and a micro level. So macro, what year's goals? What are my month's goals? What are my weekly goals? And then what are the daily tasks I need to do to get there? And kind of breaking those down and sectioning them off into each and making sure each align with my purpose and my mission and my values. Because if I'm putting energy and time into things that don't align with that, then I'm taking energy out of me. And we only have so much capacity. So
Absolutely. Amen, Amber.
yeah.
Amen to that.
To answer your question, how you keep the energy, you have to, and you just have to know where to share that energy and where to invest that energy.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. So let's talk a little bit about, if you have any female role models, whether in your industry, is there anyone that's like helped lift you up in the industry, or someone I mean, I know for me, I have a bit of billion, but like looked up to, aligned with?
I wouldn't say there's one in particular. I think there's different ones throughout different segments of my life. Being in when I was racing go-karts and racing dirt more at a, local level, I looked up to Danica Patrick because I had never
Yeah.
seen a female racing the NASCAR Cup Series before. I thought that was incredible. So of course she was someone who definitely had helped pioneer and pave lanes for women like me. And I also look up to women in other industries and, in business, in other athletics. I think the beautiful thing is we do have a lot of female role models in a lot of different areas, and you can pick and choose many things from each that you want to emulate or be inspired by.
I couldn't agree with you more. We're building a fashion brand for 2026. We do like a casual one now. And literally every minute I get, I'm watching like a Coco Chanel documentary, and I just, you know, and I find like common threads across these women, whatever industry it is. It's just that
Whatever.
they, like
Exactly.
you, like you said, they have clarity and they went for it.
From Taylor Swift to Simone Biles to Alex Cooper to I like there's all these documentaries and stuff like you can find bits and pieces to be inspired by each of their stories, and that's why I don't have just one role model because thankfully there's tons of role models for us to look up to.
You're right. We are very lucky. Okay, so let's talk about as a speaker and a spokesperson. I kind of want the audience to understand that more about you. I know we've been talking about having you in New York for our Warrior Women in Sports event, which I'm planning for the fall. So what can people expect? What's kind of your message? What do you talk about as a speaker?
That's a great question. I think the number one theme would be the importance of holding your vision and being relentless and dedicated in the pursuit of your potential, because I think that's truly what life is about. We all have hopes and dreams for what we want our life to be like, but not everyone has the courage to pursue that. And not everyone can see the possibilities in their potential of what they could be. And a lot of that is because they are, influenced by the opinions of other people and they let
Yes.
others dictate the decisions that they make for themselves, which is not right because we're all in control of our own lives and we all have the freedom of choice to choose what we want to do with our days every single day. And that is one of the most beautiful things about getting to, live in North America and be where we are. And I just think it's extremely important to always go for it and just have a plan. You're going to face so much rejection and obstacles and have to overcome so much adversity, and the journey's long, but it's not about the destination. It's about who you become during the journey, all the lessons you learned, the obstacles that you overcome, and the skill sets that you build, the relationships you make. That's where the magic is. It's all the little things along the way. And if you can embrace each part of the journey, because none of it's going to
That's
be
true.
perfect, you're going to have more bad days than good days sometimes. And but if
Yep.
you can embrace it and learn from it and find the perspective and find the lessons, then it's all going to be worth it.
Okay. So that leads me to my next question, which I mean, when I advise executives or anyone more on the entrepreneurial side, my keyword is always the same thing. I mean, I've been doing this for so long. It's always the keyword is focus, right? So how can entrepreneurs who are doing a lot of things or, the side hustle, which is, big with entrepreneurs.
Mhm.
What kind of words of wisdom do you have for focus, whether it's opinions by people that are very close to you, it might be a business partner, or it could be maybe an employee, opinions that maybe don't go along with your vision because you have a vision.
Yeah.
It could be opinions or it could be opportunities, right? What words of wisdom do you have? I mean, because you do need to stay on focus. So what have you done to stay on focus with things being thrown at you, whether it's um, you know, contrasting opinions or maybe new opportunities that you've had to say no to?
Yeah, the cool thing about focus is it's true in racing and it's true in life. And there's so many similarities between racing and life and business. And what's true about focus and racing is where you put your focus in racing, where you physically look, where you put your eyes is where you're going to go. If your eyes are pointed towards the wall, you're going to hit the wall. If they're pointed to where you want to place the car, that's where the car is going to be placed. It's the
Yes,
same in life. Where you put your focus, your energy, your attention is where you're going to go. If you're focusing on negativity and rejection and the failures that you've had in life, then you're going to accumulate more of those. If you're focused on where you want to go, the possibilities, the excitement of what could be, and the optimism, the all the good parts of your life, you're going to attract more of that, and you're going to go towards more of it. So I think focus in racing and in life is the exact same thing. Where you put your energy, your mind, and your time is where you're going to go. And when it comes to outside factors, you're not always going to be able to control those things. I can't control if someone takes me
you
out,
can't, you can't,
if I
or
have a
the
flat
rain,
tire, or
right?
they don't get gas in my car. I can't control those things. All I can control is what's in front of me, what I can do with my hands and the steering wheel, my feet with the throttle and pedals. And it's the same in life where you put your focus, the attention flows, and you can't always control other people's opinions, other people's decisions,
Right.
other people's actions. All you can control is yourself and the way you react to things. And I think that's the best way to keep your focus is just knowing, like, focus on the things you can control, the things you can't control, you let that go.
You're right. And I think I would add to that. I love that. And it's abs you remind me of the conversation. I don't know if you watch I don't know if you have had time, but I interviewed Shannon Lee on my podcast, Bruce Lee's daughter. It was one of my favorite episodes so far. I mean, I felt like I was spiritually lifted into another world. It's amazing. But she talked about going, I mean, obviously, but we talked a lot about going with the flow and kind of going with the flow towards a specific point, like we was, going towards a horizon. So one thing I would add to that is I find also, which you're already doing, is if you have a project that you're excited about, I think that that helps to deliver that focus more instead
For
of,
sure.
you know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Mhm.
So, and there's a lot we could talk about there in terms of how you make decisions, but you've answered that. So I think that's wonderful. And this is this is information that everybody really should use. All right, next question I have for you, which I ask all my guests, is organizations. So are there any organizations that associations that you're a member of, particularly around the speaking and the entrepreneurship, or ones that you maybe attend events or interested in, or ones that you would say, hey, this might be an organization that someone that's maybe interested in getting into a field such as yours that you might want to mention, any organizations?
For sure. The one that I am really passionate about and have worked with for a long time is Shift Up Now, which is
Oh,
primarily for females in racing. And then beyond that is Women in Motorsports North America as well. Because I've been in racing my whole life, I'm of course tied to
right.
the women in racing type of organizations. And They have both done so much for women in motorsports, and it's so nice to have not only an organization that helps financially try to do things for women in motorsports, but also just be that support group that I've met so many other female racers through that, and we have so many similarities, and I've made so many friends and connections, and knowing that sometimes, we feel like outsiders, but knowing we have a community where we can all feel that together has been really beautiful.
Yeah, well, that's amen to that, right? I mean,
Mhm.
that's so important to bring women together, and that's, and that it's supportive and active. I think
Yeah.
that that's the key. So, okay, I love it. Okay. So next question I have for you is a little bit about other support that you can talk about outside of organizations, such as maybe family, friends, companies that you work with that have helped to support you.
Yeah, I am extremely lucky, and I never use the word lucky, but I use it in this circumstance. I'm extremely lucky to have the parents I have. They are extremely supportive and believe in everything that I do. I could say I'm going to be
Oh,
an astronaut tomorrow, and they said, "Okay, Amber, go for it." Like they're just very
love it.
supportive and always have been, and they've always let me make decisions for myself. And even though they might be the wrong decisions, they still let me make them so that I can figure it out for myself. And I just really condone that parenting style because it's let me become the person that I've wanted to be, and just giving me that freedom to be who I am and make my own choices in life and go after my dreams and just have their emotional support 100%. Financially they never were able to support me in racing, but they've
Mhm.
always morally supported me, and that
Yeah.
meant so much to me. And same with my friends too. I have amazing friends. I'm actually back in my hometown this week, which I only get back here about once a year. So, being with all my girlfriends that I've been friends with, for 20 years, and
Right.
them seeing me go through so many different phases in life and seeing so many different versions of me and still loving me and appreciating me and supporting me and cheering me on every step of the way has been really beautiful. So, if you are someone that has a parent or both parents or even a friend that supports you like that, consider yourself very lucky, because I know not everyone is blessed with that. So I know I have to be extremely grateful for it.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. I mean, being an entrepreneur can be a very lonely road. And that's one of the reasons I
Sure.
started this podcast. And I said, I handpick my guests to be women that are doing things on their own. You're paving the way for other women. You're doing a lot of things on your own, Amber. You know what I mean? And
For
to
sure.
have
And
this,
they're all still in Canada here while I'm in the US. So, a lot of FaceTime, but it's lonely. It's hard being by myself in the States. And, in my mind, I look for the positives. I'm like, well, it gives me more time to work and to focus on my dreams and everything because
of
I'm so,
course.
but then when I get moments like this week where I'm back home, where I only get these opportunities once or twice a year, I'm really relishing in them, how beautiful it is to have them in my life and have their support.
Yeah, it's really, really nice to go home.
Mhm.
So I agree. Yeah, and like I said, I mean that connection, I think it's nice that it seems to me like you have the balance because the organizations in your industry, they feel more active than others that I've heard in other industries. And then you can kind of go home. So that's really good. So when I asked you, I know we've been going back and forth for a while on LinkedIn. When I asked you, hey, I'd love to have you on my Warrior Women in Business podcast because it's very related to the mission. What did you think of the term warrior women in business? What kind of came to mind?
I think to be a woman in business, you need to be a warrior. You need to be strong. You need to know who you are. You need to be confident in yourself, your abilities, your worth. And yeah, it takes you have to have thick skin. It takes a different type of person to kind of command that respect from other people.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, thick skin. And that's not easy. It's not, I was at a Women in Investing wine event recently, and I was talking to a couple of other female business owners. And we were talking about, that kind of thick skinness and that, I said, we were chatting and they were asking me a lot of questions. And I said, you know what? This isn't for everybody. I think that's the main
No,
thing.
no, it's
It's
not.
really, it's not like roses or whatever they
No,
call it, whatever that
yeah,
phrase is. It's not that.
no.
Yeah, it's not that. But
Entrepreneurship is not for everybody in
it's
general.
really,
you have to have a very different mindset and be willing to do and go through a lot of things others aren't. And it's not going to be fulfilling for everyone, but there's a certain type of person that I can't imagine doing anything else. I could never work a 9 to 5 for someone else. I couldn't do it, but I'll work 24/7 for me, you know?
Isn't that funny? Isn't that funny? It's the truth, Amber. It's
Yeah.
so crazy and the truth.
Hmm.
Because you're probably, if you're anything like me, you're probably all constantly thinking about
Yes.
that.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Constantly thinking about that and coming up with the ideas because
Yes.
you're creative
Yes.
about that. So to
You
turn
can't
that
turn it off.
off,
You
right, to
can't.
turn that off,
Hard.
it's like, well, what's my purpose? So
Yeah.
I completely get it. So let's talk about your goals coming up 2026 a little bit. What are some of your goals? What are some of the things that you're doing on the speaking track, on the racing track? I'm sorry, these puns are so easy to me. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. No, you're good.
So what are some of the things that you're doing that you're looking forward to that maybe my audience can attend or be a part of?
Yeah, so this year for me has been really about expansion. Last year I raced full time in NASCAR, so I was giving my
Oh,
100% all to being the best race car driver I could be. And it's a very intensive, not only schedule, but when we're full time racing, we're working 7 days a week. We're training from Monday to Friday, and then we race Friday, Saturday. And if you're lucky, you get Sunday off to kind of relax. But at most, we were getting 1 day a week off. And so
mm,
now racing part-time this year, how can I expand? How can I do more things? How can I level up in other areas of my life that can add to my racing and help me get more funding for my racing and but not only just racing, but what can I do that's going to fulfill me as a person? And
mm,
again, going back to the beginning of the show when I talked about what aligns with my mission, my values, and my purpose in life. And so for me, that expanding has looked like doing more speaking engagements. I will soon be starting my own podcast that we're working on right now. And
mm.
then some other new avenues that I haven't necessarily really done before, but I'm really enjoying. Like I said, I had an acting role this past week.
Yeah,
Never did
acting is
before.
fun, isn't it?
Yeah.
And
So
especially when it's thrown at you, it's interesting. That's for
yeah.
another
So
conversation,
just
but I've done it too.
yeah,
It's
just kind of
fun.
expanding in different areas and
Yeah,
um I'm looking forward to it. Sometimes in life you don't really know what's next, but it's an
that's
exciting feeling because it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be different. It's gonna be exciting. So
yeah, it's a calculated risk, I think,
yeah,
and it's nice. You can just and you're used to that. I think
for
in,
sure.
inherently with
Yes.
what you do and you're traveling. I
Hmm.
think that's, a lot of women, they might hold back or, just I'm in my lane, I'm in my space, I'm in my region. So I think that that expansion piece isn't just about thinking, but it's also like doing it and then getting used to doing it, right?
For sure. It was a really hard adjustment for me because I've been a race car driver for 23 years. And so to think of doing more than just racing and expanding into other areas is like, but I've done this for so long, and
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
still want to be a race car driver and race as much as I can. But I'm like, I also want to leverage the platform I have to be able to do other things too. So it's been a kind of a unique transition of expansion when I'm used to giving my 100% all to one thing. But not racing full time this year was not my choice. It was I just didn't have enough sponsorship to race full time
Yeah,
this
that
year.
makes
So,
yeah.
yeah, so it forced me into other things, but it's good. It's good. Sometimes you are forced into change, but it's always for a reason. And I do think these other avenues will help me get more sponsors for next season.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, absolutely. Things happen so that you can try new things and that you can embrace new things and you can grow. And it sounds like that's where you are.
Exactly. Absolutely.
So ways people can get in touch with you.
Yes,
Would
on
share?
my website, Amber Balcaen Racing, or Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook at Amber Balcaen 10.
All right, perfect. And I'm gonna obviously in the post show notes when we edit this episode, we're gonna share all your information, any organizations that you want to share, any of your social handles, we'll put that in the post show notes. So
Perfect.
that's
I
for sure.
also have my racing merchandise on my website too. Got some really cool shirts and crew necks on there if you want to check that out.
Yeah, well, I've checked it out because I mean, I would love to have a Warrior Women jacket. as we build our fashion brand and tie
Cool.
it into
Yeah,
yours.
yeah.
Yes. So she has very cool things. It's definitely, as a fashion person, definitely worth checking out. So one of the things, just for the audience to know, that Amber and I have been chatting about is, if you know anything about Warrior Women in Business, I do a lot of producing of events, particularly events to help educate and motivate women, female entrepreneurs, both general and in entertainment. As a musician, I host a lot of concerts in New York and LA. So we've been talking about doing an event here in New York around women in sports. Actually, I have a couple of big name women that I'm talking to right now in the fall. So, we're going to love to be able to have Amber as a part of that. Obviously, she's fantastic. And so that's something to look out for sure on warriorwomenbusiness.com. We're going to be announcing that. And then a couple other things before we end the episode and kind of close off here. But the other thing that's really important is Warrior Women in Business, although this one is remote, and that makes sense because you're in Canada. But if you were here, Amber, I would have you in our iHeart radio station office. We just made a deal, which I'm really so excited about, with iHeartRadio here in New York City, right in Midtown. It's absolutely gorgeous. So we're going to be doing the podcast there with selective guests that are related to what we do in our executive branding and training work. So look out for that coming up in the fall as well. And if anybody's interested, there's an application process. You can reach out to us and we'll share that. But with all that being said, I think today's podcast on a Monday for me has been very, very motivational. I think you're wise beyond your years, and all the things that you're doing. A lot of women, they definitely should listen to and watch this podcast, because you're doing a lot of things that a lot of female entrepreneurs I know definitely haven't done, because I think that a lot of women, and we talk about this a lot, sometimes they hold themselves back, or like you said very poignantly, get overwhelmed and get stuck in a lane that doesn't work. So I think your words of wisdom here are very well kept, and I think that women can 100% take advantage of them. So thank you for that. And
Thank you for having me.
yeah, of course. And, I look forward to, as we develop a panel and have you on that. I'm definitely an in-person type of person. So I think we'll get a lot more going as we do things in person. And again, like, anybody wants to reach out to Amber, I'll be sharing all that information. Definitely check out her gear. It's very cool in what she does. And I think you can learn a lot from a woman that's come and had so much clarity and come into a world that's traditionally male dominated. I love hearing that other women are now involved with that. I think that'll pave the way for other females that want to get, involved in your industry itself. So
Mhm.
are there any other comments or words of wisdom that you want to share, or any other events, anything that you'd want to share with my audience?
I'm always looking for sponsorship for my racing, and there's a lot of different ways that I can prove return on investment for that. A lot of business to business opportunities, branding opportunities, both on social and on the car and the races, hospitality, VIP events at tracks. So a lot of cool opportunities there if anyone is interested. But I just want to say thank you so much for having me on your show today.
No, thank you for your time, and I look forward to meeting you in New York.
Yeah.
And I think it's just going to be wonderful. And for everyone, again, this is episode 70. We'll have a surprise next guest in the iHeart radio studio coming up. But please check out the other podcast guests. We'll be sending out a final edited clip of this, or full episode of this, coming up next week. And anybody wants to get in touch with Amber, immediately we will share all the information. So if you're looking to sponsor, you're looking to connect with her, you're looking to buy gear, talk to her, please reach out. So with all of that being said, I want to thank everybody for tuning in, and most importantly, Amber, for her time. And this is episode 70. Again, my name is Jasmine Sandler. Any women out there that are serious about building their brand and getting out there, this is what we do at Warrior Women in Business. So check out what we do in our case studies that go back like 15 years. So again, thank you. Enjoy your time with your friends and family. It's very precious time, I know.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate
You're welcome.
it. Thank you so
Okay.
much for having me on.
You're welcome, Amber. All right. Take care.
Bye.